Hello everyone and welcome to Bhasi's IAS. Let's take up today's news analysis, that is 2nd December 2019. Let's get into our first article of discussion today. This article is with respect to TSP or Telecom Service Providers. Article states that private telecom players hike rates, prepaid users to be hit. That is Airtel, Idea and Jio announce up to 40% hike increase in their rate. First, we'll try to understand why this is in news. This is in news because the era of low tariffs for Indian consumers seems to have entered as major telecompanies like Vodafone Idea Limited, Bharti Airtel Limited and Reliance Jio have increased tariff by up to 40% for the prepaid consumers. At the same time, Vodafone and Airtel have decided to hike the rates with effect from December 3rd. Mukesh Ambani-led Reliance Jio has decided to implement the hike from December 6th. That is, Idea and Airtel is fixed their rate changes, whereas Jio is yet to decide on what rate changes, on how much ranges will be there done with the new changes. India's telecommunication network is the second largest in the world by number of telephone users, because with the population we know second largest obviously it will become, and with 1.183 billion subscribers as of 2019. It was one of the lowest call tariffs in the world, enabled by mega telecom operators and hyper competition among them. As on 31st July 2018, India has the world's second largest internet user base with 460.24 million broadband internet subscribers in the country. Major sectors of the Indian telecommunication industry are telephone, internet and television broadcast industry in the country, which is an ongoing process of transforming into next generation network, employs an extensive system of modern network elements such as digital telephone exchanges, mobile switching centers, media gateways and signaling gateways at the core, interconnected by a wide variety of transmission systems using fiber optics or microwave radio relay networks. Now, in this pictorial representation, you can understand that the three telecommunication giants in India are Vodafone Idea, Reliance Jio and Bharti Airtel. We can also see the rate of subscribers among all these three media companies or the telecom companies. That is, now Vodafone Idea tops, second position goes to Jio and then it comes Bharti Airtel. So, these three telecom communication giants together account for almost 90%. So, they all account for almost 90% of India's 1.18 billion mobile subscribers. So in India, 1.18 billion mobile subscribers we have. Out of this, 90% amount for these three organizations. So 90% almost we can divide into 30:30:30. 30% is split evenly among them. New plans will be available across India from December 3rd. Now let us understand what are the reasons for the hike. Why these three companies have increased tariff rates of prepaid consumers. Mainly there are three reasons why these telecompanies have increased their tariff rate. First one is that there is loss incurred among all these companies. There is an outstanding debt for these companies, and the recent Supreme Court ruling on AGR or adjusted gross revenue. So the hike in tariffs comes after these three companies record quarterly loss. The loss is one problem. Second one is that they also have outstanding debt over 1 lakh crore rupees. Okay, totally over 1 lakh crore rupees outstanding debt is there. And the third one is that because of AGR, which is adverse Supreme Court ruling on the adjusted gross revenue. So this Supreme Court verdict also resulted in the reasons for the hike. So first we'll try to understand what is AGR or adjusted gross revenue. So what is adjusted gross revenue? It is a usage and licensing fee that telecom operators are charged by the DOT or Department of Telecommunication. That is, it is divided into spectrum usage charges and licensing fee. So AGR is divided into two: spectrum usage charges and licensing fee, and pegged between 3.5% and 8% respectively. So next we'll try to understand how this is calculated and what is the contention. As per the Department of Telecommunication or DOT, charges are calculated based upon all revenues earned by a telecommunication company, including non-telecom related resources such as deposit, interest and asset sales. So suppose there is a company called X. Okay, AGR is charged, that is adjusted gross revenue is charged on this company, including all revenues, even it is telecommunication revenue or other revenues like interest charges or deposit interest, etc. So telecompanies on their part insist that AGR should comprise only the revenues generated from telecom services, and please don't include other revenue. But DOT is of the opinion that they will include both the revenues. And finally, a lot of tussles and cases going on from 2004 till 2019. Finally, in 2019, Supreme Court have ruled out that clear judgment is passed that significantly damaging implications for India's telecom industry, which is already reeling under huge financial stress and is left only with 4 operators. Significant investment of several $1 billion have been made in creating world-class networks. This order has huge impact on 2 private operators, while most of the other impacted operators have exited the sector. Supreme Court is of the opinion that AGR or adjusted gross revenue will consist of both the revenue, that is telecommunication revenue and other revenues. Then it will be charged either 3 to 5% or 8% from this revenue. So it has upheld the definition of adjusted gross revenue calculated on as stipulated by the Department of Telecommunication. This means that telecom companies will have to pay as much as almost like 92,642 crore rupees to the government. So this is one reason why there is a interest or the charges rate increase. Because of losses is one reason. We have seen debt is there already, they have existing or the outstanding debts are there with these companies. Last one is AGR also triggered this increase in rate because adjusted gross revenue is calculated now based upon 2 parameters. What are the revenue from telecommunication plus the other revenue to the company is also added. So considering these two, they also have a debt of 94,000 crore rupees. This also added or triggered the situation. Therefore, these are the reasons for the hike now. Experts is of the opinion that this is just the beginning. Telecom tariffs need to almost double in the coming year to support a 3-player market and a healthy telecom sector. Actually, telecom service provider services or a service like a internet to a normal person is almost like a raw material for the entire economy. Okay, it says that raw material for the rest of the economy, serving as a productivity enhancer for many other sectors. That we know that digital India, we do everything through internet now. All the applications to government, anything, online portal, online payment of fees, everything is done through internet. So if the internet rates are increased to almost 40% from the current rate, obviously it will affect the entire economy. So a robust, vibrant ecosystem of TSPs is critical for some of the key nation or the national businesses initiatives of the government of India, including less cash-based economy, what we are dreaming for, and the larger Digital India program. In essence, a vibrant telecom sector is the national interest. Critics is of the view that Apex Court's ruling will not only lead to collapse of the telecom sector, but also have a cascading effect on several other sectors, including power, steel, and railway. Let's get into our second article of the day. This article is of much profound importance because it's a major problem in the health sector of the economy. It is also a science and tech problem plus a health sector problem. This is antimicrobial resistance. Okay, battling antimicrobial resistance is also called AMR, antimicrobial resistance. India must accelerate implementation of its national action plan on antimicrobial resistance. So under this particular topic of antimicrobial resistance, we'll try to understand firstly why this is in news. Okay, and what is antimicrobial resistance or AMR, then why it is so ineffective nowadays, and what is NAP-AMR, that is National Action Plan for Antimicrobial Resistance, and what are the global movements to eradicate this, and what's the way forward. First, let us understand why this is in news. Why in news? This is in news because November is celebrated as by the entire world as Antibiotic Awareness Week. So in July, in its fight against growing problem of resistance to antibiotics, disease-causing germs, Indian government banned the manufacture and sale of colistin. Okay, this Indian government have banned the manufacture, sale and use of colistin in the poultry industry. So colistin is considered as the last resort medicine to treat a person with life-threatening infection. The government's move is among the numerous steps that will contribute to global efforts to preserve and prolong the efficacy of antibiotics and prevent the world from moving towards a dark post-antibiotic future. Now let us understand what is AMR or antimicrobial resistance. Antimicrobial resistance works like this. Normally our body have both drug resistant bacteria and non-resistant bacteria in our body. So drug resistant bacteria is shown as this one and non-resistant means this one. Okay, so antibiotics, when we are having to our body, if antibiotics is injected to this body, this will kill non-resistant bacteria in our body and creating an ideal environment for the drug-resistant bacteria to take over. So what is the difference between non-resistant and drug-resistant? Non-resistant means it can't resist. So if a medicine come like this, it will die off. Okay, non-resistance means even though it comes, it will not die, it will be persisting. So that will remain after using of antibiotics, and after some time, through replication and gene transfer, drug-resistant bacteria can become dominant and a new infection will occur. This is what happens. Now we'll try to understand how it spreads in across the public or across the nature. Normally, when an antibiotics is given to a person or a patient, which can result in drug-resistant bacteria developing in the gut. So drug resistance will happen like this. We have learned that. Okay, and after the patient develops drug-resistant bacteria in the body, if the patient attends hospital or clinic, it will spread to other patients with poor hygiene or unclean facilities. Then drug-resistant bacteria spreads to general public. It will reach the plate through food, environment like water, soil, air, or direct human-animal contact. This is one way. Another way is through this way. That is, if we have learned that colistin is banned. Okay, so drugs like colistin, antibiotics are given to food producing animals and crops. So animals develop this antibiotic drug resistance. It will be remaining in your gut, again it is reaching our plate. This is how it is spread across the people. Now we also have to understand why these antibiotics are become ineffective to people. We know that in general, antibiotics have saved millions of lives till date. Unfortunately, they are now becoming ineffective as many infectious diseases have ceased to respond to antibiotics. In their quest for survival and propagation, common bugs develop a variety of mechanisms to develop antimicrobial resistance. So, how they became ineffective? Through developing AMR or antimicrobial resistance. The indiscriminate use of antibiotics is the greatest driver in selection and propagation of resistant bugs. It has the potential to make fatal even minor infections. Complex surgeries such as organ transplanting and cardiac bypass might become difficult to undertake because of untreatable infections, complications that may result in post-surgery. Basically, resistance to antibiotics is a man-made disaster. Is classified as a man-made disaster in the health sector because irresponsible use of antibiotics is rampant in human health, animal health, fisheries and agriculture. While in humans, antibiotics are primarily used for treating patients, they are used as growth promoters in animals, often because they offer economic shortcuts that can replicate hygienic practices. Globally, use of antibiotics in animals is expected to increase by 67% by 2030 from 2010 levels. Now let us understand what is the global scenario or how globally we are dealing with this issue. So AMR or antimicrobial resistance have been recognized worldwide as an important public health challenge with serious impact on economy and development. Sustainable Development Goals have articulated the importance of containing AMR. Similar articulations have been developed by UN General Assembly, G7, G20, European Union, ASEAN and other such economic and political platforms. Even globally, we have developed inter-country development agencies like WHO, FAO and World Organization for Animal Health developed a global action plan on AMR. India develops its own national action plan on AMR. It is based upon the One Health approach, which means that human health, animal health and the environment sectors have equal responsibilities and strategic actions in combating AMR. While talking about the global action plan, we also have to look into what is India's action plan or national action plan on AMR. Okay, we have developed a national action plan on AMR by May 2017. It have around 5 steps. The first step says that improve awareness and understanding of AMR, risk communication, education, everything have to be done. Second point states that strengthen knowledge through surveillance and research, national AMR surveillance, laboratory capacities, research and development. Third step is reduce the incidence of infection, that is IPC in healthcare, communication level prevention, community level prevention, animal health prevention and control. Then fourth one is optimize the use of antimicrobial medicines, that is access to qualified antimicrobial medicines regulation AMS and use in veterinary and agriculture have to be controlled. Ensure or it have to be optimized. Ensure sustainable investment in countering AMR, measuring the burden of AMR, assessing investment needs, establishing procedures for participation. So let's have a recap of our discussion on AMR. We have seen why this is in news, what is AMR, why it is ineffective, what is national action plan with AMR, what are the global movements and what's the way forward. So while discussing what is the way forward, there is an urgent need to augment capacity for regulatory mechanisms, infection control practices and diagnostic support, availability and use of guidelines for therapy, biosecurity in animal rearing practices and understanding the role of environment and engagement of communities. For this, world must launch a global movement to contain AMR. So let's get into our next article of discussion. This topic is with regards to Indian economy, precisely economic slowdown. The article points out that it's time to act. Economy needs a meaningful policy response with steps to spur consumption or to increase consumption. So we all know why this is in news. This is in news because of economic slowdown which India is observing now or we are going through now. So precisely if we are talking the latest estimates on economic output and growth, while not a surprise, reaffirm the fact that ongoing 6-quarter slump is still in search of a bottom. That is, it is continuing to go down. GDP or gross domestic product expanded by 4.5% only. This is very low or a slow pace of expansion in 6.5 years. If one were to strip out government final consumption expenditure, which jumped from 15.6%, real GDP growth would have been an even more anemic. That is 3.1%. Of serious concern should be stagnation in investment, reflected in the mere 1% growth in the gross fixed capital formation. So it shows very clearly, the estimates and the numbers shows very clearly that investment is gone down because main thing is that the gross capital formation is only increased by 1% in the last year. But of course, government has also taken many measures like reducing the corporate tax or cutting off or cut the corporate tax rate. It was clearly aimed at spurring the private sector. That means if the government is not taking corporate tax from the corporates, they will invest more is what the government thought of. Okay, so indications still now are far from encouraging, but clearly with consumption spending, mainstay of demand yet to retain traction, companies are likely opting to retain any gains from a lower tax outgo as cash for a rainy day rather than to raise capital or make new investment. That means the companies which got the privilege of not paying corporate tax, of not use that money for higher investments or not spending in the market. So therefore the aim of the government was not met by cutting down the corporate tax. An analysis of GVA or gross value addition reveals that 6 of the 8 sectors posted decelerations from the fiscal first quarter. And even though agriculture, forestry and fishing grew by 2.1% in the second quarter, nudging up from 2% in the April-June period, pace was overwhelming when seen both in the context of 5.1 pace posted a year earlier and above average monsoon rains in 2019. So significantly when we are speaking, manufacturing shrink by 1%. It is marked in contrast to year earlier period, that is 6.9% growth was there. So before it was 6.9%, now it is marked only 1%. So 2018 and 2019 data shows for manufacturing. Indian economy have 8 core industries and 6 out of 8 core industries are showing a diminishing report. Okay, 6 of the 8 segments reported year-on-year declines. Of particular worry is a 12.4% contraction in electricity. The most affected is electricity. Hinting is it does not have a lack of demand for power as the nation's factories. Okay, that means what? Nation factories, so the production is not using as much as the power. That means production is very less. It is high time officials helming the economy put aside the bravado and bluster and acknowledge the seriousness of the structural elements behind the slowdown by indicating meaningful policy reforms even while taking steps to spur the consumption through innovative fiscal measures. Finally, as a way forward, we'll try to understand how to fix these problems or how to increase economic growth in India. So first point is that government needs to follow a Keynesian approach. What is Keynesian approach? To increase public expenditure to spur demand. Therefore, if public expenditure is more, obviously demand will be more is as per the Keynesian approach. So when we are increasing public expenditure is in investing agriculture, in infrastructure, inputs, extension, marketing and storage and training, and providing profitable prices to farmers. This will increase the demand, of course. Okay. Second one is that we should also raise funds for the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act to push up the demand. Second point is that we can invest in SHE, that is skill, education and health. SHE stands for skill, health and education. This increasing additional jobs for ensuring basic health and good quality education up to the secondary level to all, so that any meaningful skill formation is possible, should be another A. So this will raise public employment, promote labor-intensive sectors like gems, jewelry, textiles, garments and leather goods. Human capital formation will give a big push to startups and MSMEs. Third point which we can implement to increase economic growth in India is cyclical fix. Cyclical slowdown can be dealt with counter-cyclical policy response. Counter-cyclical policy means encouraging spending during downturns and tightening credit during inflationary periods. Finally, we can also deal with the liquidity crisis. That was the main center of problems in ILFS crisis. We know that. So India, unlike the Asian tigers, cannot rely on the export alone. Given deglobalization trends, instead a multi-pronged strategy is required. First one is that we have to fast-track infrastructure investments in India. Second one, raise the export market share via competitiveness. Third one is attract global value chains that are shifting away from China, so it is easy for us to attract. Fourth one is prioritize domestic production over imports. And last one is that leverage sectoral strengths. So basically we can have a recap of the same. By following a Keynesian approach, that means increasing the public expenditure to spur demand, we can raise the economic growth. Second one is that investment in SHE, that is skill, health and education, can be done. Third one, cyclical fix, that means for a cyclical policy, counter cyclical policy can be encouraged to do. And liquidity crisis can be dealt with many factors like increasing the infrastructure developments, export market, connecting the value chains and taking advantage of the shift from China, and prioritizing domestic production over imports. That's all for today. Hope this helps. Thank you.